We are officially getting to that point, guys. The point of you can no longer show your friends UFC. You can't recommend UFC to your friends anymore, guys. And this started like a little bit, like a year or two ago. I was trying to get my friends hyped for Izzy DDP, guys. I was like, guys, this is going to be a masterclass. This guy Izzy's he's a world-class kickboxer, bro. He's been doing it all his life. He's not like, he's not in his peak. He's coming off a loss, but trust me, he's going to put it on this guy, bro. This guy he's fights like a fucking panda bear, lazy. He fights like he's slipping on a banana peel 24/7. This guy has no chance of beating Izzy. Guys, come watch this. I kid you not. After that fight, my friends text me and be like, how did he, like, that guy was horrible. How is he fighting for a title? That guy just beat Izzy? Izzy, the guy you just showed, the same guy that knocked out Whitaker, the same guy that knocked out Pereira. Yeah, the same guy. And when it got hard for me to explain how DDP beat him to my friends, I started to realize something. I'm like, yo, why did that happen? Like, why? What's going on, man? So we're getting to that point, guys, where UFC is looked at as like the most talent-filled sport in the world, or one of the most talented. You got to be talented. You got to be training for a certain amount of years. Your whole life got to be dedicated to this. Since you come out the womb, you got to be fucking punching speed bags and hitting heavy bags. That's just not the case anymore, And I feel like DDP really paved the way for people to just go in there and fight. Of course, we just watched RDR Whitaker. Watching RDR throw punches at the wind, watching RDR look really bad, but watch RDR ultimately get the decision, the decision victory, close one, by the way, over Robert Whitaker. And my friends who watched it too were like, how did he beat Whitaker? Like my friends who are casuals, kind of newer to the scene. I'm like, guys, because I was telling them, put your money on this guy. And they're like, guys, like, I don't know. I didn't know what to say. And I started to look at the rest of the UFC guys. Us ordinary people, I'm going to say ordinary people, because if we watch people fight for a living, so we're a little bit maybe local, maybe a little bit in the head, but being a UFC champion isn't as crazy as I feel like some people might think, guys. I really believe that we're getting to the era that like UFC is going to become unwatchable for the people who love art. Like, there was a point where, like, the Silvas used to ooh and ah. People used to love that. The John Joneses, the GSPs. Those are all-time greats. Demetrius Johnsons. What do all of them have in common, guys? They're very skilled. They look very clean. They're very, unique. They have this specific style that they will master, and they just look beautiful while doing it. And then you have people like DDP throwing punches at the wind. Then you got people like RDR fucking running through these former champions in the most goofy way possible. You have people like Paddy Pimblett fighting with his chin in the air, but somehow being a top-ranked contender via kind of an easy schedule. You got people like Marab, who are very hard workers, by the way, but doesn't do anything that sticks out, like as far as paper is concerned. Looking at Marab, be like, yo, Marab looks great here. You got people like Derek Lewis still getting knockout after knockout, just being a heavyweight. Heavyweight weight class is a whole fucking category of his own. That I can make a whole video on that. That's not what we're going to talk about because that's too easy. But talent isn't a big deal in UFC anymore, guys. Matter of fact, I would actually say physical attributes and hard work trump talent tenfold. Like, specifically physical attributes to a point. Like, I didn't realize how much physical attributes matter till I started seeing people like Dricus Du Plessis and RDR pop up specifically. Now, I'm not saying DDP and RDR aren't skilled. You can't make it to the highest level without some kind of skill or some kind of talent. I feel like DDP is actually significantly more skilled as far as, like, I guess the feet is concerned than RDR. I do think RDR is a little bit better at grappling than DDP because I don't see RDR get as reverse as easy and stuff like that. But on the feet, both of them, despite DDP having a significant advantage and having some good rusty kickboxing his whole life, these guys look almost lost on the feet. And I feel like there's a misconception with people who watch MMA who are new to MMA. They're like, I got to be good at every martial art, dude. I got to be a fucking cowbunga, dude. I got to get in there. I got to be a great boxer, dude. I got to have some good wrestling. It's MMA, dude. It's not boxing. See, boxing, you can get away with just being good at one art. MMA, you got to be good at every art. That's just not the case anymore. Was that the case once upon a time? Sure. Like, you at least had to have some decent BJJ and some great striking or some good wrestling, but okay striking, But nowadays, you don't even have to have great technique. You don't have to have great striking. You could just be really tough. You could have a physical attribute advantage so significant that no matter what you do, if your game plan is to go in there and hug them against the fence and smother them, that could get you a win nowadays. That's the kind of UFC we're kind of experiencing now. where talented fighters don't win anymore. It doesn't pay to be talented. It doesn't pay to be skilled. You know, DDP was not more skilled than Israel Adesanya. DDP was not more skilled than Robert Whittaker. He wasn't. Not even more well-rounded than Whittaker. Whittaker has great wrestling, great striking, all this stuff, you know, good combos. But DDP went in there and he fought him and he beat him in the fight. Now, people, like ordinary people, are probably looking at these guys like they're the highest level guys. Listen, if you're a human being, you got like a stature advantage over most people, your size. You could cut a lot of weight. You know what the art is? Like mastering cutting weight like a crazy amount and rehydrating back up to the crazy amount you cut from. That's the most underrated thing in UFC history probably right now. Those people like RDR who could come in on fight night being like damn near 220 at 185 and just running at people and bullying them because you have a 6'4", weird, awkward body stature. Like, I literally remember him just grabbing Whittaker's arm, not wanting to let him go because he was so scared on the feet. And every time he had free space on the feet, he was punching at the air. The first round looked so flawless. The thing about this is when you go against someone like this who you're way better than and you have a way better skill advantage over, you might embarrass them the first round. However, even though they're getting tired too, the chances of you getting tired against them is way more high because, one, they're bigger and stronger than you. So when they make you carry their weight and they hug you and hold you against the fence, you're going to be drained more than anything because you're holding all the weight. You know, they're not as drained. Even if they are as drained, they could just collapse against you and rest on you, and you're going to have a hard time. You're going to have to use all your energy breaking out while they're just holding you. You're just keeping you there. I don't want to say I'm not a fan of this, but it is making the UFC a little bit less watchable for, I feel like, casual fans. We get it. Like, the people who've been watching UFC for a couple years, we get it. Not because it's been a normal thing, but we get it as far as like we understand why these people are getting fatigued and getting broken by these guys. You know what I'm saying? We understand why. And I want to point out a lot of these guys with these physical attributes, they're also hard workers. Now, if you take a Whittaker and take a RDR and they work just as hard, and Whittaker still has a substantial, huge advantage in every department, there's still a chance that RDR can beat him every single time they fight. And that's because RDR's physical stature and size is so much more significant than everyone in his weight class. DDP and Izzy, you know, even though they didn't fight, both of them Izzy probably wasn't as fucking Costa or Whittaker Izzy. He was like 35 at the time, a little bit older. If you make them fight again, can Izzy win? Absolutely. But how unorthodox and how much like fight that DDP has in him, it's always going to be a hard fight for Izzy. You know, it's never going to be an easy fight for Izzy unless it's Izzy like 10 years ago. It's coming to the point, guys, where you don't really need to have 10 years training, guys. For example, Joshua Van, and I'm not saying Joshua Van's not skilled, but I just want to point out something for ordinary people who are maybe considering getting into MMA. Guys, Joshua Van has been doing it for 5 years. Is Joshua Van very skilled? Yes, he's very skilled at boxing. He's like the outlier here. But the reason I'm pointing at him is because he had some natural athleticism and natural hands, you could tell. You know, some people just naturally know how to let him go, bro. I know how to let him go naturally. I'm not trying to glaze myself, but I'm just used to, I don't train, but I know how to let my hands go. Some people are like that. People like that, if you train for like 5 years, you could, I don't care for to go to MMA or UFC, but I feel like if I really wanted to, and I'm 6'4", 177, and I cut down to like 155, I could really just run at these guys and just use my limbs, you know? I could do this, man. And if you're watching this video like, yo, I'm kind of fucking juiced, man. I'm kind of fucking huge, man. And I'm a hard worker. Get your ass in the gym. See what you can do, guys. Like, these Merab Dvalishvilis, why I like them is that, let's be real, people be like, Merab's one of the best wrestlers in UFC, Kenny, isn't he? But the truth of the matter is, guys, Merab doesn't necessarily complete I'm not going to say any takedowns. Merab doesn't score a lot of takedowns. Merab's game plan is not to like actually take you down and control you and smother you. Maybe that is his game plan, but he's not very effective at it because he doesn't really control people or take them down, and he gets a lot of failed attempts. He does have a lot of control time because of clinching and stuff, but if you actually watch Merab fight, you're going to realize, is he a skilled wrestler? Yes. Is he like the top tier, most skilled wrestlers in the division? No. Umar's a more skilled wrestler than him. Aljo's a more skilled wrestler than him. You know, these are all facts. I know people are like, dude, but you out-wrestled Umar. Look back at the first round, guys. I'm telling you, Umar was winning the wrestling early. As Umar fatigued, was Merab winning? Yes, because Merab has a relentless pace, great cardio, and he has good work rate. That's what's getting him the win over these guys. I want people to know that you're not so much different than these UFC champions you guys see on TV. You know, like even these Paddy Pimblets who aren't, guys, I'm telling you, look at Paddy's striking. It's not that good. Like, he keeps his chin up. He's very, like, telegraphed in the way he throws. It's like he wants to get knocked out. Would he probably get embarrassed by Ilia Topuria? Probably. But he's managing to win fights in the UFC at the highest level while being very mediocre in a certain aspect and being okay in the BJJ. His BJJ is okay. He has some submission victories. Yes, he's probably known for that. But these guys aren't absurdly talented or absurdly skilled. Skill doesn't pay the bills anymore. We're at a generation right now that if you just work hard and you're probably bigger in stature, you could become UFC champion. It's really that simple. And you do not need 10 plus years of training. You just need like 3 good solid years of training, one base. You don't got to be good at striking. And you know what's funny about these guys who are usually bigger and just strong with like huge work rate? They don't need to look pretty striking, and they don't care to look pretty. That's what's making it a little bit more like the casuals a little bit more confused about like, how is this guy winning when he's punching the air for 5 minutes before he gets that finish or before he gets to breaking that guy. They don't really care. I don't think RDR gives a shit about how bad his striking is. Because he knows that I'm not here to look good. I'm here to win fights by fighting unorthodox and just using my size and my stature to my advantage. So I'm going to cut an absurd amount of weight. I'm going to weight bully in these lower weight classes because I know they're not 220-pound guys. These middleweights aren't as big as me. So as being the biggest middleweight on the roster, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to try to bully these guys, and it's going to work. And it's been working. And I'm telling you right now, it can work on a lot of people. The only people who can beat these absurdly big or hard-working people are people with absurd skill. In bantamweight, the guy to beat Merab is only Umar, in my opinion. No one else really has a solid chance. That's my opinion. And in middleweight, the only one to beat DDP, in my opinion, is really a Hamza Chimaev or maybe even an RDR who can match his weird style. But Hamza Chimaev's absurdly skilled in a certain department of fighting. You have to be like the top 1 percentile skilled to beat some of these guys because they're just so good at what they are good at. Even Merab, like even not Merab's, I don't know who else is like one of those people who are just goofy. Any top guys who like doesn't stick out on paper as skilled, like people like Volk and Ilya, they stick out as skilled. Islam's not champ anymore. They stick out as skilled though. Like their department of fighting, they're very good at it, and they're very good at multiple things. They're not just one dimensional. Those are very skilled fighters. But if they run into the wrong guy who just like put the pressure and pace on you, they could definitely lose to those people, which is very annoying to look at. One. And it's very frustrating that you could actually just lose to someone via size and via just they're bigger and this, oh well. You can work as hard as you want. When push comes to shove and shit gets ugly in that fight, they will have the advantage because how big they are and like the cardio and all these other aspects that are added on to a point where I really feel as if right now, I'm not saying the UFC is dying, but casual audience are going to have a hard time going into UFC, getting told that this is the highest level, and then watching the people at the highest level fucking throw punches at the air for 5 minutes straight. That's very confusing to look at. People don't really understand that. Like newer fans, like I said, I'm okay. I can understand it because I've been watching the sport and I've been like keeping up and stuff. But other people, my friends are like they don't want to watch UFC anymore. They just don't. They're like, bro, these just doesn't look the highest level. Is this the highest level? I don't think so. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them really because it's very frustrating, especially when they're trusting what I'm saying and then it goes left and they're like, I don't even know how you're wrong there because that guy looks ass. I don't know either, guys, but this goes to all the ordinary people back home, bro. Don't believe in the myth of talent or the myth of skill. Skill and talent does get you as far as you could let it get you. But at the end of the day, if you run into someone just superior to you in attributes physically and maybe have a good work rate and decent cardio, they will beat you 9 times out of 10. So if you're that guy who's just like a workhorse, like I can work hard and you're a big guy naturally and you can cut up a certain amount of weight and rehydrate, UFC is a sport for you guys, and you guys could actually be world champions. So this is your sign right now. Get up, work out a little bit, maybe be a little handsome, I don't know, and become world champion. If they could do it, guys, trust me, you could do it. They're not, I'll be real, UFC and the average human being, as far as skill and other professional sports are concerned, that's probably the closest gap to cover. Like being a professional basketball player, it takes a lot of stuff, more than just attributes, a lot of skill. Professional football player, you got to catch and run routes, a lot of coordination and stuff, and talent goes into that. UFC is not a talent-based sport anymore like it used to when Anderson Silva, GSP, and John Jones were running it. Even when even Izzy and certain other champions, Volkanovski, it's not the same sport as that. So trust me when I say you have the chance to be world champion. It comes down to if you want it as much as the other person does. But let me know what you guys think about this. I had to make this video because it's very troublesome now that I'm starting to realize the shift we're going through. Let me know what you guys think about the shift. That's it for me, and God bless. 2, 3, 4.